Namaste, Pranam, Gita Dhyana. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Vrtavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim. Oh, Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Arjuna. The ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O goddess, bestower of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters. O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. Vasudevasutam devam kansachanuramardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadguru. Son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. So we take up today the 25th Shloka of the Dhyana Yoga, the 6th Adhyaya of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Yoga of Meditation. In 24th Shloka that we read earlier, Sri Krishna told us that get rid of all the desires arising out of that motive of doing anything. Motive of doing any action, that resolution of performing any action, whatever desires arise out of it, just culminate them, just kill them. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman kyaktva, abandon all those desires arising out of the sankalpa, and sarvan asheshataha, all the desires, not leaving any trace of those desires. Asheshataha, asheshataha is without reserve. There should not be even a trace of those desires living behind in the mind while doing any work. Manasaivaindriya gramam, manasaha eva indriya gramam, all those mind and collective senses, viniyamya, having restrained. All those senses having restrained by the mind. Samantataha, samantataha is from all the sides. Not that through this corner the senses are going towards the sense objects, through that corner the senses are going towards the sense objects. No. It is totally curbing the senses with the mind from going to all the sides. With that, with these two things, with the discrimination and dispassion, get into the state of abandoning all the desires arising out of the motivation, out of the resolution of starting any work. And as Sri Ramakrishna said, as he in that example, that when we put on nice clothes and get into the room of which is filled with soot, black powder, our clothes, they are going to be dirtied with those black marks. Same is the case when we are moving around in this world of sense objects. Then the sense object, at least a little bit of lust and greed, it is going to tempt us. It is going to create that black patch on our clothes. So we have to be very careful. And that is what Sri Krishna told, that controlling all the senses, and not one or two, indriya gramam, he said, the all senses together. Just keep them under control, restrain them with the mind, and then move around. Then there is no chance of the sense objects luring the senses. Then there is no chance of that black suit coming onto your dress. So now in this 25th shloka that we are going to read today, Sri Krishna again tells us now how to go about it. It is not an easy task. Getting rid of the desires arising out of sankalpa is not an easy task, but Sri Krishna shows us the way for that also. Now he tells us, śhanaiḥ śhanaiḥ uparamed buddhyā dhṛiti-gṛihītayā ātma-sansthaṁ manaḥ kṛitvā na kiñchidapi chintayet śhanaiḥ. Slowly, gradually, uparamed kṛitvā. Uparamed is let him attain the quietude. Uparamed buddhyā dhṛiti-gṛihītayā. Slowly, gradually let him attain quietude. Let him attain that calmness of mind. Buddhyā dhṛiti-gṛihītayā, by intellect. Buddhyā is intellect. Dhṛiti-gṛihītayā, firmly holding the mind with the intellect. Let him slowly attain to that state. Slowly let him attain to that state of calmness, to that state of quietude. Shame uparamed buddhyā dhṛiti-gṛihītayā. ātma-sansthaṁ manaḥ kṛitvā. Manaḥ kṛitvā is making the mind. Making the mind where? ātma-sansthaṁ. Putting the mind on the self. Putting the mind on the self. Na kiñchidapi chintayet. Let him not think of anything else. Put the mind on this little self and the supreme self. Through little self, attain the supreme self. So that is what Sri Krishna had told us earlier. That let our little self get face to face with that supreme self and then that anandam. So till that state comes, that is the objective. Now these are all the hindrances of reaching that stage, and Sri Krishna is telling us how to eliminate those hindrances. In the previous slok he says, get rid of all the desires which are born out of the sankalpa. And now how to attain it? Sri Krishna is telling us, doesn't matter, it will not happen in just a single stance. It will not happen in a single go. Śhanaiḥ. Slowly, gradually it will happen. Let it happen. Let it happen gradually. Uparamate. Let him gradually calm down his mind, which is so boisterous right now, going here, there. Let him uparamed. Let him get into that quiet state of the mind. Buddhyā dhṛiti-gṛihītayā. The mind which is firmly held by the intellect. The intellect we are talking about is that discrimination and dispassion. These two faculties of the intellect. With these two faculties of the intellect, let that intellect hold the mind in the firm grip. ātma-sansthaṁ manaḥ kṛitvā, and making the mind set on the self, established on the self. Na kiñchidapi chintayet. Let him not think of anything else. There is no need to think of anything else. Let the mind just think of me, the self, the Atman. With his intellect set in firmness, let him attain quietude little by little. With the mind fixed on the self, let him not think of anything else. Simple formula Sri Krishna has given how to reach that stage of sankalpa prabhavan kaman tyaktva. The moment we are in it, the desires die away. Desires run away and we get face to face with the Atman, with the self. Dhriti or firmness. That's what Sri Krishna has told us. Dhṛiti-gṛihītayā. Dhriti, the firmness is very important, not fickleness. With the firm intellect, one has to control the mind. Slowly, doesn't matter. Initially, it will be slowly. We control the mind, again it runs away, then again we bring it back. It is not, we are not the Yogeshwara like Sri Krishna. That we can attain anything like this. No, for us, abhyasa is necessary. Practice, practice, practice. And slowly we will start. Today, when we sit for meditation, the mind gets scattered on this object, that object. How to control it? First, let it go. Observe where it is going. And then we know, okay, the mind today, it has gone to office. It has gone on that project on which I am working on. And slowly we just pull it back. Again, we pull it back. And when we are habituated of pulling back the mind from those thoughts, automatically we get into the situation of a firm control. Dhṛiti-gṛihītayā. Some are smart enough to distinguish academically between the permanent and the impermanent. But in day-to-day life, they are slaves to the impermanent sense pleasures. When we are talking, after reading Bhagavad Gita, after reading any Upanishad, we are in such a high elated mood. We know what is real, what is unreal. We know what is permanent, what is impermanent. But the moment we come down into the day-to-day life, that permanent thing, that real thing, it gets hidden from our focus. And then we start focusing on all those temporary things, all those changing things. Then we don't think of the changeless entity. So this is what happens in our day-to-day life. As mind gets fixed in the self, it ceases to deviate in sense indulgence. So what is now the way out? Instead of allowing the mind to go to those objects and again pulling them back, instead of doing this exercise day in and day out, every time we sit for meditation, why not put that little tiny mind right in the beginning on the self? And with practice, we can easily do it. That's what Sri Krishna says. It will take time. Sri Krishna also knows, and therefore he has given that kind of leniency. He is quite lenient teacher for that matter. Slowly, slowly he says, śhanaiḥ, śhanair. He doesn't say immediately the moment you start your meditation for the first time, you get to know the self and get into that state of paramananda. No. Śhanaiḥ, śhanair. Slowly, slowly. Keep on controlling the mind firmly, but that effect has to be with firmness, not half-hearted. It has to be wholehearted. And then the moment the mind and the senses, they are put on the self, there is no chance of these senses going on to the sense object with the idea of enjoyment. So that is what Sri Krishna has told us in this 25th Shloka. And Sri Ramakrishna also has almost a similar teaching. Sri Ramakrishna says, mind is the main factor in you. Mind is the major culprit, yes. That is the biggest tool. It can take us to the highest altitudes or it can drown us. So, mind is the main factor in you. That is what Sri Ramakrishna says. As is your mind, so are you. It may be compared to a washed white cloth, which is capable of taking any dye dipped in. The mind is like a white cloth. You dip it in a red colored, it is like that cloth. White, freshly dyed white cloth. You put it in blue, it will pick up blue. You put it in red, it will pick up red. You put it in green, it will pick up green. Like that, the mind. When that tiny infant is born, that mind is so spotless, so stainless, so clean, so beautiful. And as we start growing, this white cloth that we come with, it starts picking up the dyes of other hues and colors. Then we get some black spots, we get some blue spots, we get some red spots, yellow spots, and it is no more a white cloth then. So Sri Ramakrishna says, as is your mind, so are you. It may be compared with a washed cloth which is capable of taking any dye dipped in when you have learnt a new language. You cannot help uttering a few words from it in your conversation. It happens with us. We are born, as the child starts learning the languages, first it is the mother tongue. Then we acquire other languages. And then, if we get opportunities, we start learning many more languages. And as we become multilingual, the language that we have learned last, the words from that language, they start getting mixed up with other languages that we speak. It happened in my case when I learned Punjabi, when I learned Gujarati, when I learned a little bit Kannada, and a very rudimentary, just like chalta hai kind of Tamil. Those words, whenever I was speaking any other language other than my mother tongue, the words from these languages, they used to make their impression on the other language that I was speaking. So it happens that this new language that we pick up, we start putting those words in that third language. So Sri Ramakrishna says, our mind is like that. That whatever new thing we see, we start immediately imbibing it and putting it in use. Whatever new attractions we see, so this is what happens. But this is in a negative connotation. It is as far as the sense attractions are concerned. Contact with the undesirables contaminates the mind. So if it is that new object in our life is undesirable, that contaminates mind. But if that new object happens to be the holy feet of the Lord, if that new object happens to be the lap of my Divine Mother, then it is a totally different case. So Sri Ramakrishna says that holy company, on the other hand, elevates the mind. So always think of holy. Always think of the Lord. Always think of the Mother. Then the mind will not go to all those other objects, other low-leveled sense objects going towards their enjoyments. And this is what Sri Krishna has taught us in this 25th Shloka, that it has to be na kiñchid api chintayet. Na kiñchid api chintayet. That mind, let it not think of anything else. So, like Sri Ramakrishna said, that let the mind, let be in the holy company, think only of the Lord. If that happens, then that the other bad tendencies, the other negative tendencies, they will never harm us, and then they will never, not even tempt our mind for that matter. So we have to be very careful that we must put our mind always on the Lord. We must put our mind always on the self when we are sitting for meditation. Initially, mind may, play tricks on us. But we have to slowly, oh my dear mind, that is not where you have to go. You have to go here. So, with the mind and the senses fully under control, no desires arising out of motive of sitting for this meditation. Putting the mind firmly on the self. That is the Guru Killi. That is what we used to call it in Marathi. That is the sure short formula for success of this meditation, of attaining the ultimate goal of meditation. So see how beautifully Sri Krishna is telling us about the problems we come across while meditation, and also how to get rid of those problems which we face at the time of sitting for meditation. Therefore, he is a Jagat Guru. He is a supreme Guru. He tells us what to do, what not to do. So with that, we close our reading of this 25th shloka of the Dhyana Yoga, the 6th adhyay of Srimad Bhagavad Gita for today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Mahan. Jai Swami.